That's so brilliant! This video is sponsored by Case Filters. It is absolutely amazing what impact colors have to our emotions. Now, the goal of my fine art photography is to convey mood, to evoke emotions, and color is a quite important component here, I have to say. In this video, I'm going to show you how color helped me massively to improve my fine art photography. Hi my friends, very nice to see you. I get often asked, Christian, why do your images look like a sketch or like a painting? Well, there are really a couple of things I do to get this painterly effect on my image, and most here is really all about color. Just quickly, what is the difference between a photo and a painting? Do you have an idea? Well, a simple photo, a snapshot, is an exposure of reality, and a painting instead is the simplified version of reality. Exposed reality, simplified reality. And this simplification leads to that abstract appearance. This is given by the lack of resolution, the lack of details due to brush strokes, obviously, due to the thickness of the brush. Now, we can't do something like that in photography, of course. Our cameras have a lot of megapixels, we catch all the details. But there's something else that is, that leads into simplification in a painting, and this is color. The painter can't reproduce all the colors of reality in a painting. This is simply not possible. He decides on the most important colors of his composition, and this simplifies his composition by color. And this is exactly what I do with my fine art photographs. In this image here, for instance, we have just two colors, which are this greenish yellow and blue. Or in this image here, we have just orange actually. That's one color only. This is how I get my image more abstract, and this leads more to a kind of a painterly effect. Don't get me wrong here, I don't want to use any painterly filter or brush strokes or something like that. It is really all about getting the image simplified by color. There are a couple of things to be considered in post-processing, but also out on location. I will talk about that later. Let's have a look first at colors themselves. Important to understand is that colors evoke emotions, they convey mood. So it is really a big difference which colors we use in our compositions. And here I can really highly recommend to engage a bit deeper with color psychology. And in my experience, the easiest way of understanding colors is when we look at nature actually. So landscape photographers might have really a big advantage when it comes down to starting with fine art photography. Orange mood, for instance, is usually given by the sun, and this leads to this warmth in an image. Blue instead leads to a bit more refreshing mood. It supports the coldness, water for instance, or the sky. With the sky, blue also conveys this unreachableness. We are not big enough to touch the sky, obviously. So in this image here, we have this combination of subtle warmth given by these subtle yellow-green tones, and these subtle blue-green tones give us a bit of coldness in this image. So it is also possible to combine moods by combining colors. And this really allows us to get a bit control over the emotions of our viewers. There are lots of other colors obviously. Red, for instance, is dynamic, power, but also could appear more demonic when you combine it with black, for instance. Or green also, it is more blooming, growing, fertility and so on. Black and white are no colors, of course, but there's also a psychology behind black and white. Black is more associated with negative emotions like fear, for instance, or I mentioned the combination with red already, which gives this more demonic effect. White instead is more purity and innocence. Again, there is much more about colors. Just observe nature to find out which color supports which mood. What I really like about colors is the way how to combine them. Again, it allows us to play with the mood, to play with emotions actually. And that's probably one of the best things in fine art photography. But not each color works well with each other one. But before I will tell you more about that, my friends, if you like this video, please give me a thumb up. It helps me, it helps the algorithm, and it helps also other photographers out there to find this video better on YouTube. Thank you therefore. Combining colors is a quite powerful method to get control over the emotions of our viewers, and with time you develop a sense of which color combinations leads to which mood. We just have to listen to our own emotions actually when we are out in the field. A good idea is, for beginners especially, to use color systems. And I will show you exactly which color systems you can use. But first of all, let's focus on abstractness. How can we get our photographs more abstract? By color. And the easiest way of getting a photograph more abstract is by turning it to black and white. We don't get distracted by colors anymore, we get more sensitive for lines, shapes and patterns. So monochrome is our first color system. But monochrome doesn't necessarily mean black and white. We can also bring one color into our image, when it makes sense of course. In this image here, for instance, the entire landscape was stanked into shadow and looks quite dull even, but as the low sun broke through the clouds and illuminated some parts here in the mountains, the middle down there and also the clouds up there, it leads to a quite powerful image. Same in this one. The setting sun illuminated the traceme. We get this amazing alpenglow effect on the mountain, and the rest is just shadowed. In my experience, orange works quite well as a monochrome color in landscape photography, but it works also with other colors of course. In this image here, everything is kept green, and you see this one is not as powerful as the two images before with orange. In the monochrome color system, the pure mood of the used color itself gets conveyed with the image. So again, it's really a good idea to engage with the mood of colors. Another color system I use quite often is analog colors. What we need to understand here is the RGB color wheel. It is out of red, green and blue obviously, and all the colors between. Now, the closer two colors are together on the color wheel, the more harmonic the mood of the color combination gets. Blue-green is a combination I use quite often, for instance. It brings this fantastic harmony into a scene, into a nature scene. But analog colors doesn't necessarily mean just to use two colors. We could also use three colors which are close together on the color wheel. In this image here, for instance, I used orange, yellow and green. It had been possible to shift the greens there a bit more to yellow though, but the green here leads to this nice plasticity effect given by the subtle color contrast here in the shadows. So I don't think just what looks good. For me it is more all about thinking, what I want to achieve with the colors actually. And the opposite of analog colors is complementary colors obviously. And in this color system we use the colors which are more a part of the color wheel. This could mean totally opposite colors like in this image here. We have the oranges in this illuminated part which are also very subtle here in the foreground grasses, and we have the dark dramatic blues up here in the cold sky. This image here is also quite dramatic, but I didn't get totally opposite colors. What I've done instead here is I shifted the analog color green of the middle a bit more to yellow, and also the sky a nuance more to purple to get these two colors more apart, just to support the drama in this image. But we can use color also to support the depth in the scene, like I have done with Dancing Ghost Tree. The image had looked flat and boring if I hadn't made the distant layer a bit more cooler. I used the complementary color system with orange and blue. I like to work just with one or two colors, I have to say. I do this for most of my images actually, but sometimes two colors are simply not enough. In this scene here, there happened a bad accident hundreds of years ago where a lot of people died, and so I wanted to convey this bittersweet mood between drama and salvation. And ultimately I decided on orange as my key color, and the analog colors green and blue as my opposite colors. And this color scheme is known as epsilon shape, because when we look at the color wheel we get an epsilon shape obviously. In fine art photography, it is not only allowed to shift colors, we even should do that to optimize colors when it is necessary. So when I took this shot here, we had red sky, and so in reality the sky had been even more red. But it worked much better with shifting it a tiny bit more to orange to get a cleaner epsilon shape. And here one more example with an epsilon shape. Yellow-green are the analog colors, purple is the opposite color key. And this leads to this fantastic separation between the purple blossom and the green backdrop, and even the yellow gets nicely emphasized due to the color contrast. But there exists also a special case for the epsilon shape. Let me show you another example here. We have the greens here in the meadows, the warm orange sun, and also the blues in the sky, but also in the shadowed mountain face here. And here I did something special. I shifted the orange even a tiny bit more to red to get more harmony into the image. And ultimately, this leads to a triangle shape. This is a special form of the epsilon shape. I simply brought the colors of the epsilon shape more apart. And we don't have a dominant color anymore, we don't have a key color. And the triangle shape is not all too different from the epsilon shape, just the colors get more spread over the wheel, which leads to more harmony. If I use epsilon or a triangle shape depends just on if I want to bring more harmony or more drama, more contrast into my image. You see, when we break it down, decisions on colors of an image is all about the mood I want to convey actually. Another color system is the X shape, and this is a very special color system, and I just use it sometimes when there are too many colors to be managed in a landscape scene. In the X system we have two pairs of analog colors which build a contrast to each other on the color wheel. So in this image here, for instance, we have the purple reds harmonizing with the oranges as our first analog color pair, and the green with the yellow as a second pair. And these two pairs together give an X on the color wheel. Yeah, it was an autumn photograph, the entire composition just works because of all these colors. This is how the most important color systems work, but important to know is how to manage colors out on location and also afterwards in post-processing. But before I will tell you that, I asked you already for a thumb up, I think. If you didn't already yet, that's a good time therefore. Well, now we know about the impact of colors, the mood, we know about the color systems, but how can we bring this all together when we are taking a shot? Now, what I do is when I'm out on location, I just look around which colors are there. The colors in reality are my bases, and based off them, I decide on my color system. I make this decision already out on location because it also helps me to see things clearer in my composition, to see additional elements maybe. In this image here, it was easy. I saw the logs with all the mosses on them and the blues in the shadowed mountain face. In post-processing, I just had to emphasize the blues in the shadows, to emphasize the analog colors. I saw the story of the logs lying in front of the waterfall too, but I spotted also the color contrast. When we break it down, I do easier with finding compositions by considering colors. Also here it was obvious, I saw the setting sun backlighting the haze with this warm orange, and this turned also these greens of the bushes and the middle more to yellow. So I had enough time to see the analog colors and how they got shifted by nature already. In post-processing I just shifted the colors slightly to optimize them a tiny bit for the analog color system. But it is not always that obvious. In this composition, for instance, I waited for hours for getting the sun breaking through the clouds. So when I built up my composition, I just saw green and blue, but I knew the orange sun will be my third component for an epsilon shape. It was not there, but I knew it will come. This orange on the left hand side balances the blue on the right hand side quite well. So my first tip here is really, when you are out on location, look at the colors. Look at them as isolated elements. This is the sun part, this is the dramatic sky part, this is the illuminated middle part, and so on. It will help you to see your story better as well, the story your image conveys. And in post-processing afterwards, in Lightroom for instance, we just have to decrease the saturation of all the unimportant colors and increase the saturation of all the important colors. How simple is that? Color is really an important thing in composition. If you manage to get colors to work, I guarantee you, your fine art images will get much better. But color is not everything, of course. It is anyway just a tiny part of composition. And by the way, my composition ebook is still available for free. I know I mentioned that I want to sell it on my web shop, and I will definitely do that. I just didn't have time to think about the price or so. So if anyone has an idea for a price, just leave me a comment below. And the link of the ebook itself is also down in the description, of course. as composition is really that important, I also have a playlist with all my composition videos here in my channel, and I will link it here for you. My friends, I hope you like this video. If yes, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to tune in next week. There will come a fantastic video as well. And thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.